All right. I'm obviously not Maddie Cruz or Jason, so hang on just a second. Let me fix some names here. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by as you always do. And it is Tuesday Thoughts, and we are stacked. It is a lot of information to get into over the next little bit. It is a bunch of different competitions that we have to get into over the next little bit. And we're going to have a bunch of guests to help us out to get through today because tonight, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Obviously, it is the second of the two friendlies that is attached to the U.S. men's national team as they get ready for the matchup tonight against Portugal after what happened on the weekend in the matchup against Belgium. We do have, and my guess is I'm going long, we do have the chance to hear from Jedi Robinson on his health, Weston McKinney on Christian Pulisic and his impact, Sebastian Berhalter and Chris Richards discussing the United States and what it's like to play on home soil. And then Tim Ream on intensity, which turned into a bit of an issue after it was discussed with him yesterday. We do have some news and notes and things and breaking it all down for you. Newcastle Stadium is no longer owned by the owners. It is owned by the owners, but not in name. We've got some stuff to go with Spurs. Our buddy Ben Jacobs, who is actually on this side of the Atlantic, is going to be joining us bottom of the hour. And we're going to break all of that down because apparently, possibly, probably, maybe, perhaps, Roberto De Zerbi is going to be their new head coach. So we're going to have a bit of a lightning round with Ben. Gets to join us for about 20 minutes. 9:30 to 9:40. We've got him until 10 till because we are a stop on the Ben Jacobs train. And so Ben's going to join us, and he's going to hang out with us until about 10 till, and then he gets to go to his next stop, and it's probably back to England to discuss things on Talk Sport having to do with De Zerbi. So we're going to try and catch up with Ben on Spurs and all of their chaos, what he saw in the U.S. match against Belgium, what he's anticipating in the U.S. match against Portugal, because he did catch up with Roberto Martinez yesterday, and I wanted to get his feedback on all of this. And honestly, some discussion probably about the Three Lions. So it's going to be a lot of World Cup stuff, but obviously with De Zerbi being the developing story, it is not quite breaking news that he's close. He's close, he's close, he's horribly close. So we'll catch up with Ben about the Premier League. We'll catch up with him about the relegation fight, De Zerbi, World Cup, what he's seen since he's been here. Has he had good food? All that kind of stuff. That's at 9:30. Kacey D is going to join us at 10, as she always does. We're going to focus on the NWSL. We'll talk about the 63,004 and early returns on that because she has had the chance to see earlier this season Washington and Utah, and we'll get into the NWSL with her, find out where she's going to be this week when it comes to Major League Soccer, and I think it's another trip to St. Louis, but we'll get into that with her at 10. 10:30, Marty Jelleme, the head coach of Atlanta United's Unified team, is going to join us. We're going to catch up with Marty for our preseason visit, getting ready for their first matchup in about 6 weeks' time. They're going to have their 2026 debut. 4 matches, and it's 1 at home, 2 on the road. This year on the road, they go to Philly and they go to Miami, and then they wrap up with Chicago. So I think it's LAG here in May. Then it is Philly and Miami on the road, and then they wrap up the week before Halloween with Chicago at Mercedes-Benz. So we'll catch up with Marty about the 2026 build, what it was like to come out of 2025 the way that they have, lessons learned, all those kinds of things. So that's the guest list. Ben Jacobs in about 20 minutes. Kacey D is going to join us top of the next hour. Marty Jelleme at 10:30. We're going to go through all the things that we know. We've got to have a bit of a discussion here before we get into Ben at 9:30 about the European qualifiers and the Intercontinental playoffs. We'll go through your juice boxes, take a look at those matchups, and kind of see where the land is when it comes to all of that. So there's a lot to get into this morning, and this is one of those mornings where you kind of feel like Jerry Reed at the beginning of Smoking the Bandit. So we're going to be having a boatload of stuff that's going to be a part of the discussion, and obviously let us know what's going on in your mind as we go. Morning, Ricky. Morning, David. And yes, high-intensity soccer. And so we'll see what the crowd is like. Is it going to be close to 66,000? I don't think so because it's a Tuesday. And remember that the Belgium match was match 18 for season ticket holders. I will be interested to see what the walk-up is. I will be interested to see what the stack is. So different situations, different fans drifting in. So we'll see what the number is tonight. Obviously, we'll have all of the post-match for you. And don't forget, Atlanta Soccer tonight is going on at 11 o'clock. So that way, Jason, Maddie, and I'm probably going to drift in an hour number 2, where Jason, Maddie, and probably me will let you know, everybody. So this afternoon, you'll know 42, 43, 44, 45, and 46. Late today in the afternoon, as we're all heading to Mercedes-Benz, you'll know Team 47. Team 48 is late tonight. So when we know Team 48, that'll be live pretty much on the air with Jason toward the end of his run at around a little before 1 o'clock in the morning. And then that'll be the rundown for today. So you'll have us. Everybody goes to Mercedes-Benz. Atlanta Soccer tonight at 11 o'clock, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. And so that'll be the rundown of anything and everything going on that's attached to there. So, okay. Let's get into opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. We give you all the info that you need to start your day. And we start the day with the most important stories. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. There was something that I came across, and it has to do with our friend Arsene Wenger. And it appears also, in the next time that we have our friend Christian Jack on from One Soccer, it will be a discussion about the offside rule. And it is one of those interesting things. Dan Sheldon wrote it this morning, and it was updated well before we were awake, about 4 hours ago. Canadian Premier League is going to trial Arsene Wenger's daylight offside rule when the new season gets underway on April 4th. This is from FIFA. They've confirmed this. Another change to the CPL ahead of the upcoming campaign, head coaches will also be able to challenge decisions that are made on the pitch by brandishing a review card. Athletic reported in February that the Canada trial of the rule was being discussed and would be accepted pending ratification. Wenger, the chief of global football development at FIFA, has been pushing a new offside law that means as long as there is no visible gap or daylight between the attacker and the last defender, then the forward player will be onside. Confirmed that the CPL, in cooperation with FIFA and IFAB, will become the first pro league to implement the new regulations designed to favor attacking play. In a press release, Wenger, quote, "This is an important pilot." Sorry, I had to do that. "This is an important pilot. By testing this new interpretation in a professional competition, we can better understand its impact, including terms of improving clarity and the flow of game and promoting attacking play. Look forward to analyzing the results of the trial phase," end quote. He went ahead and thanked the CPL and Canadian Soccer Association for their willingness to support FIFA and for providing the competition to be the law's guinea pig after it had previously been limited to youth football. CPL's new offside rule, attacking player considered onside so long as one part of their body that can be used to score, ruling out their hands and arms, is in line with or behind the second to last defender. This means the attacking player will only be ruled offside if there is daylight in quotation marks between themselves and the defender. Commissioner James Johnson, adding to the CPL's openness to the trial, it's about positioning the CPL at the forefront of the innovation, contributing meaningfully to the global evolution of the game. As a part of the trial, CPL is also going to implement football video support, which is a video replay system to review key officiating calls, requires head coaches to give a card to the fourth official. We've seen this in youth tournaments for the USMNT. I remember seeing this in, I think it was the U18s last year. So unlike VAR, FVS does not use dedicated video match officials, meaning it does not automatically review match-altering moments. But under the rollout in the CPL, head coaches will be able to make a limited number of review requests per match when they feel there's been a clear and obvious error in match-changing incidents. Goal, no goal, penalty, no penalty, direct red or mistaken identity, such as goal, no goal, penalty, no penalty, direct reds, or mistaken identity. So that's what you're looking at. According to FIFA, head coach must issue and give the card to the fourth official, quote, immediately after the relevant incident to avoid unnecessary delays, end quote. Their season begins on April 4th. So, Arsene Wenger and challenges coming to the Can PL. Well, like I said, we'll catch up with our friend Christian Jack in a bit when he is not chasing after Jesse Marsh, who wants to have red outs when it comes to the Canadian national team, and especially if Italy is the team that wins today. Jesse Marsh in his press conference, the 30-second soundbite, he wants it to be a red out if Italy is coming to Canada to play. Jesse Marsh once again embracing full heel north of the border and just trying to rally the troops and the fans and sit there and go whoop, whoop. So that was Jesse Marsh yesterday. So I guess he's rooting for Italy so he can have his red out. Opening kickoff brought to you by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. We start your day with the most important stories in the game. The right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend, made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut, and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. No, Del, I do not. I speak Wenger. I speak a very weak Arsene Wenger. I don't speak French. I'm not quite Gomez Adams either. But yeah, when I started getting back into watching the Premier League, Wenger was still in charge at Arsenal, and the idea was to try and come up with something akin to a Wenger impression. So it was that was how we were. So morning, Ricky. Morning, David. Morning, Del. So that's opening kickoff. All right, let's get you into the previews over in Europe and the Intercontinentals and let you know what the juice boxes are heading into these matchups. Once again, you're going to have all of the European matches at 2:45. You've got the one Intercontinental at 5, and then you have Iraq and Bolivia at 11 o'clock. Bosnia-Herzegovina and Italy. Bosnia is a big underdog. It's supposed to be 9,000 available in a 13,000-seat stadium. And from what we have seen, this one, frankly, is probably going to be the one to watch just because of all of the history that's attached dating back to 1996 and all of the, I'm not going to say pomp and circumstance, but if you missed it last night, the Italian ambassador to Bosnia-Herzegovina, Sara Eti Castellani, reminds us of the deep historical roots. November 6, 1996, Italy arrived in Sarajevo for a friendly led by Arrigo Sacchi, Baggio, Maldini, and Zola. The war in Bosnia and Herzegovina had only recently ended. Italy's arrival symbolized solidarity and support during a fragile period of recovery. Bosnia-Herzegovina won 2-1. One of the first major international sporting events in post-war Sarajevo, helping restore a sense of normality and hope. During the war years, citizens of Bosnia and Herzegovina found refuge in Italy. Italian humanitarian workers and volunteers came to Bosnia and Herzegovina, often at great personal risk, to support civilians. From the reconstruction of the old bridge in Mostar to numerous developments and reconciliation projects, Italy has remained a committed partner in the country's recovery and progress. Italy continues to advocate for Bosnia and Herzegovina's European path. Through its role in the U4 Althea mission, strong economic ties, Italy maintains a visible and meaningful presence. Football, too, has played its part in strengthening this relationship. Players such as Edin Dzeko, Miralem Pjanic, and Senad Lulic have found success in home in Italy. And by the way, Edin Dzeko has said, and he has encouraged the Bosnian and Herzegovinian crowd to applaud the Italian anthem. So we'll see what happens there. But this one is going to be probably the one to watch of the four. Bosnia-Herzegovina, as we're talking, they're now turned into a plus 600 underdog. Italy favored at a minus 208. So there's going to be limited visiting fan presence in this stadium. Only 9,000 allowed in a stadium that seats 13. So it's going to be a hot crowd to begin with, and you're not going to have full capacity because of UEFA concerns. So that's the 245. Czech Republic and Denmark. Denmark is a plus 110. Czech Republic, and the last team that we talk about is the home team. Czech Republic is a plus 300. Kosovo and Turkey And I believe we've gotten into this one before, but let me remind everyone. So the Kosovan and Turkey politics. Kosovo-Turkey relations. Kosovo has an embassy in Ankara. Relations between Albanians and Turkey date back to the arrival of the Ottomans to the region in the 15th century. Many Albanians during the Ottoman period, this is from our friends at Wikipedia, converted to Islam, contributed through administrative, political, and military positions to the Ottoman Empire and culturally to the wider Muslim world. The Albanian diaspora in Turkey was formed during the Ottoman era and early years of the Turkish Republic through migration for economic reasons and later socio-political circumstances of discrimination and violence experienced by Albanians in Balkan communities. In the early 2010s, Turkey on occasion has asked Kosovo to change or remove content on the Ottoman period in its school textbooks that it viewed as containing offensive material. Debates ensued among Kosovar historians about whether content was based on bias and nationalism from past times or not, while Kosovo eventually changed more emotive language in school textbooks with neutral terminology. Turkish soap opera is very popular in Kosovo, by the way. A Turkish soap opera, Asi Hayat, top show in Kosovo, over 50% viewership. And another one is Payatat Abdul Hamid, a show known for historical revisionism, focus of controversy in Kosovo due to the problematic themes and messaging. So, economic and cultural relations. Albanian diaspora in Turkey lobbied the Turkish government for recognition of Kosovo's independence by Turkey. Current AKP Turkish political leadership has acknowledged there are large numbers of people with Albanian origins within Turkey, more so than in Kosovo and neighboring Albania combined, and are aware of their influence and impact on domestic Turkish politics. Important trading partner, trade turnover being about 8%. Turkey, one of the top 3 investors and an important donor country for Kosovo in 2020. The two countries agreed to have a cinematographic cooperation. So I guess you can shoot movies in either country if you are coming from the visiting country. Kosovo is an underdog at a plus 280. Turkey a plus 100. 90-minute draws a plus 240. I would anticipate, honestly, the Bosnia-Herzegovina-Italy match is probably going to go north of 90 minutes. Plus 333. Sweden a plus 104 at home hosting Poland, who's a plus 260. Once again, the 90-minute draws a plus 240. The Intercontinentals, DR Congo favored, hosting Jamaica. And I say hosting because they're just listed as the home team. These are two matches played in Mexico. 5 o'clock, DR Congo and Jamaica. Jamaica a plus 500. DR Congo a minus 125, draws a plus 210. Then at 11 o'clock, Iraq and Bolivia for slot 48. 11 o'clock, Iraq and Bolivia within the margin of error. Iraq is a plus 170. 90-minute draws a plus 210, and Bolivia is a plus 179. So you look at the 90-minute draw, and the juice box purveyors, for the most part, have just kind of thrown blankets over the top of it. Kosovo, Turkey, Sweden, Poland, it's the same number. Same for the intercontinental playoff between DR Congo, Jamaica, Iraq, and Bolivia. So I think the juice box purveyors, this is a bit of an education for them. They have yet to determine really what they're good at and what they're not. So it is intriguing to say, the very least, to see these numbers kind of working their way through all of the picks, shall we say. And I'm completely intrigued. It's like, we don't know. Let's put the same numbers down. Literally, you will see in Odds Portal where we are, you'll see for a lot of these matchups, especially during qualifying, the 90-minute draw number has been the same thing across the board. It'll start out at the same number like on Monday, and then as the week goes along, it'll kind of spread out a little bit. But you see that 90-minute draw number just kind of sit there, and it's like, the same thing. And I bet you they talk to each other. What about this? Yeah, keep it the same. Keep it the same. So intriguing to see, the very least. But I see you. I see you when it comes to locking down your numbers. And so I'm it's kind of like a social experiment, kind of, to see what the what they are looking at, but I think that it's going to be a bit of a wake-up call for them, especially as we get closer to the 48 teams and looking at matchups and things like that. And so I am definitely going to be keeping an eye on all of those things, and we'll see how it looks. Like I said, Ben Jacobs set to join us about 5 minutes, maybe as many as 15, but if it gets closer to 9:40, we've got until 9:50. It's going to be a lightning round, and we're going to talk about USMNT, what he saw, what he's seen, what he's anticipating tonight, and then what's going on with Spurs, De Zerbi, who has gone from considering to close to, and now the wording is that he is on, it's like on the verge. Literally, it's like every step of the way, it has been locked in on De Zerbi, where it's like is now close to announcing. That's your phraseology. He is now close to announcing. And honestly, we could spend an entire Lord knows on the Spurs situation in general. And so I'm going to get a couple of Lord knows questions in there. But Ben visits, we're going to talk USMNT, maybe a little England, but what he's seen, what he's anticipating tonight, and we might, we'll go from there. We'll see what else is on Ben's mind. Speaking of Newcastle, once again, Newcastle Stadium has been sold by the owners to the owners. And so that was released this morning. And you're going, well, yes, this happens before. And so not necessarily a surprise that that you would sell it to yourself. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which still doesn't have a sponsor, that just blows my mind. Really just blows my mind. That how you do not have Spurs Stadium, how you still don't have a sponsor. But Newcastle Stadium, once again, to the owners, sold to themselves, but not to themselves. St. James Park to themselves, basically was how it lists. Sold St. James to themselves. Accounts show the club is no longer officially owning its old home. So Chris Witherspoon and Chris Waugh this morning, once again, before we woke up from the Athletic. Newcastle United sold both their St. James Park home and adjacent land to another company owned by the club's shareholders last season, enabling them to book their first profit since coming under the majority ownership of the PIF. Chelsea does this all the time. Chelsea's got 22 holding companies. And so navigating the books as you see, okay, so, hey, Newcastle, why don't we sell it to ourselves, but not to ourselves, but to a holding company? So Newcastle is now a part of that list of folks that do. The intra-group asset sales generated paper, basically that's what it is. I mean, that's a fancy way of saying you shifted paper from one holding company to another. Proceeds of £176.2 million, $232 million. And an accounting profit of 133.1, resulting in a pre-tax profit of 34.7 for Newcastle in 24-25. Without the sale, club would have posted a record 98.4 million pound loss. PZ Newco Holdings Limited, incorporated on June 5th, 2025, and like Newcastle, wholly owned by PZ Newco Limited. So the holding company, once again, not to be confused with just Newco Limited. The UK-registered investment vehicle majority owned by the PIF. On June 27, 22 days later, 3 days before the club accounting year ended, the Holdings Limited purchased, quote, leasehold improvements at St. James Park for £172.1 million, generating $129 million in profit for Newcastle's books. So it's the stadium structure, the land that St. James sits on, managed by the Freemen of Newcastle and is not owned by the club. On the same date, the holding company purchased Newcastle United Football Club Projects Limited, a club subsidiary, for £4.1 million. Projects, the holding company, was set up in late 22 and in 23 acquired a long leasehold interest in land at Strawberry Place, south of the Gallowgate End, for £12.5 million. Land had been sold by the club in 2019 under the ownership of Mike Ashley. Projects later signed an underlease with Newcastle United Promotions Limited, the fourth holding company that we have in this conversation, another entity in the club group. Promotions operate the Stack Fan Park, which opened the site in August of 24. Promotions remains under the club's sphere, so income generated from the fan park can still be recorded in Newcastle's financial submissions, according to football governing bodies. The upshot of those two transactions carried out last June is the club no longer officially owns its home, but it's now under the control of a business controlled by the club's owners. So welcome to the new world, sir. This is Christopher Columbus, Marco Ramius, you name it. So Newcastle now adds themselves to the mix of folks that have decided to, under a gazillion holding companies, which is their prerogative, because once again, the Premier League has no, they have no wish to get into that kind of a discussion. But if Chelsea has 22 holding companies, and it's one of my save screens, by the way, on this monitor that I'm talking to you in front of, Newcastle, in that article, in the first couple of paragraphs that was created by multiple writers at The Athletic, we know what that means, that at least 4 holding companies exist at Newcastle. Holding company, the company limited, and then 2 others having to do with other assets. So Newcastle now, in an intra-group asset sales generated paper, which is what that is. I mean, literally, that's what that is. You are literally shifting paper. And this is to get around all the PSR issues that they had back in 24, selling Yankuba Minte and Elliot Anderson because they needed to close a £50 million gap so they wouldn't be in violation of PSR. Remember, you can only lose X amount of dollars over a 3-year period and still be in check marks and okie dokes when it comes to profit and sustainability rules. Newcastle has had some serious issues with that, with the PIF coming in, and they're trying to figure out how to get under that navigated number of a 3-year period. And selling the stadium to yourself, but not to yourself, was their way to do it this time around. So you go from operating negative to an operating positive, and that helps you out with all of your sales and your proceeds, so you're not in violation of PSR. If only we all could be as fortunate in that. I'm going to create my own holding company and sit there and say, no, it's them, and have it be some kind of an offshore thing. If you're ever having any kind of an issue. Now, the credit card's owned by the holding company. It's not owned by me. So how can we contact the holding company? Well, they're in St. Lucia, or they're in the Caymans, something like that. They're a Cayman Island holding company. Do you have a phone number for them? Yes, I do. It's like a 669 number or something like that. So what's the Caymans area code? All right, so Cayman Islands area code, it is 345. The North American numbering plan for the Cayman Islands is the 345 area code. So if anything ever happens from the 345 area code, you know that that's coming from the Cayman Islands and most likely from your holding company. But yes, so you've had it's a deep dive by the 2 authors at The Athletic, Weatherspoon and Wall. They go into a deep dive at Newcastle, but basically the biggest piece of information out of it, as they go over the team's books over the last handful of years, is the fact that they have now cleared 9 figures to the left of the decimal when it comes to commercial revenue, and that they literally have sold the stadium to themselves in a holding company setup. So that was probably the larger piece of news when it came to Newcastle in and of itself. Weatherspoon and Waugh did the big deep dive, but the holding company is now the holding company, and the holding company now is in charge of everything there. We do have to get into, before we get out of here, and we are efforting a conversation on this, where we now have a couple of deep dives from Paul Quinn on what's going on involving Eagle football. And it is your requested required reading. We are efforting having Paul on the show because Paul went in and analyzed Eagle football. And it is what we've known and what we've covered the entire time. But Paul, in his analysis over at the ESK.org, second paragraph of his introduction, like I said, we'll probably get into this in added time today. This is a cautionary tale of the impact of several factors: the pandemic, a hugely leveraged acquisition, a collapse in media rights, poor operational performance by the club's owners and executive team, and the inability of the majority shareholder, John Textor, to provide the necessary capital to maintain control of the business. Additionally, it demonstrates the predatory nature of private credit lenders, the cost of their capital, and impact that it has on the fortunes of football clubs. So that literally is paragraphs 2 and 3 of Paul Quinn's introduction to his deep dive. And it was 2 separate pieces that he did over at the ESK that break down anything and everything going on with the activity of John Textor. And actually, since we have to be, we're waiting on Ben Jacobs. When we send Ben on his way down the assembly line of all of the folks that are needed for him, we'll catch back up with that over at the ESK once, since we're in that block. We'll do the John Textor dive after we're done with Ben Jacobs. Yes, see, David is correct. And Dell, that would be the way to do it. Is that where you store all your money? If I had money to store, I would be doing that. It would be in the holding company where all the assets are. So, yes, David is absolutely 100% correct. SDH has sold the home studio office to My Better Half Inc. or the Boss Inc. But yes, the boss would be the holding company in this case. So that exactly would be the way to do it. So the holding company is the boss, and the My Better Half Inc. or the Boss Inc., capital T, capital B, would be the holding company. And where does the boss operate out of? The boss has a Delaware Corp and a subsidiary office in the Cayman Islands. That is the rundown of the whole thing. Yeah, if you see a Delaware number or if you see a 345 area code that's the Caymans, that's where that pops into place. And did the SDH studio sell its naming rights? They are available. The SDH studio is available for sales of naming rights. The graphics package and the presenting sponsorship are Kaiser Permanente, as you see. But the studio space in and of itself, either Maddie's studio space, the morning show studio space, or Jason's studio space, it is available. I mean, it is not something that is just going to be pennies on the dollar, mind you. But if Del Schaefer Real Estate wants to be the title sponsor for the studio spaces of SDH, this is something that can be negotiated. Please consult Scott Flood and the Flood Project and Jason Longshore for our price card. So yes, it is. It could be. Well, and I mean, that's it. Yes, and yes, please, Dell, have your people call my people. But yeah, David, maybe Atlanta Stadium can buy naming rights for the World Cup. You see, now that presented by Atlanta Stadium, the SDH Studios. I mean, shoot, it'd be like a good night. It'd be a good 7 to 8 week deal. Leading in 7 weeks, week after, so it'd be like a 9-week thing. And it'd be like 9 weeks, Atlanta Stadium, presented by Atlanta Stadium, SDH studio space presented by Atlanta Stadium. It'd be like a 9-week gig, You want a quick sponsorship pop? 9 weeks, Atlanta Stadium, SDHAM here from the Atlanta Stadium studios, brought to you by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. See, it just rolls off the tongue. So yes, the naming rights are available, but like I said, have your people call our people, and literally, it would be having a discussion with Scott Flood and the Flood Project and/or Jason. So there you go. But yes, that's the thing. Holding companies. We're learning more about holding companies and multiple breakdowns of financials than we ever thought we were going to, but it's because we need to. That's why we had our buddy Jason Stevens on Tuesday mornings to kind of break things down involving MCOs. And his conversations that we had involving MCOs kind of alerted us to this landscape and reinforced the difficulties of navigating MCOs. And so that's kind of where we're at when it comes to all these all these different things. But to sadly be somewhat in the center of one of these discussions around Texter, John, that's kind of where we've been dragged into this whole MCO discussion. It's important to understand it because of where it is in the landscape. But because of it, and one of the individuals that is tied to MCO's, multi-club ownership model, Atlanta United has been brought into this front and center over someone who has been transacted 3 times. Botafogo, Atleti, well, from Atlanta to Botafogo, Botafogo to Atleti, and spending time, elsewhere other than Atlanta. But the whole Thiago Almada saga, going from one hemisphere to another, one continent to another, shows you really the landscape of today, and the fact that we've had to kind of navigate it and learn about MCOs on the fly and understand its place and where the it's not predatories. It's venture capital, where you have all of the venture capital firms around the planet that pretty much are somewhere in the pyramids of all of these elements here. So that's the issue with all of it, having to understand where all this stuff is coming from. And yeah, it's about econ, it's about individual rules, it's about the Court of Arbitration for Sport, it's about FIFA and what is allowed and what's not allowed and limits, all of these things. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, this is where the sport is today. And that's what we're having to understand going forward. Like I said, Ben Jacobs will come in for his cameo. And then once we're done with Ben, then we'll get into the ESK and Paul Quinn and what he was able to break down. Like I said, it is a big, deep dive. And it is the required reading of the day, without question, because of what he gets into. Because he gets into the financial evolution of Eagle football, and then he started with the analysis of Aries Capital in Eagle football, and then the financial evolution of Eagle Football Group. Literally, he did 2 massive pieces. And we'll look at the analysis series, and we'll break that all down as to let you know what the ESK had to say about it. But Paul Quinn did some big, deep dives. And we'll go into the second one, his analysis piece, after we're finished with Ben Jacobs here coming up in just a little bit. So that's the rest of the rundown of the morning. So it'll be Ben and a cameo. Literally, it's going to be lightning round at this point because he's got another appearance at 10 o'clock that we've got to get him out and then get him moving. Then from there, KCD is going to join us at 10. We'll talk NWSL a lot. Find out. I think she's going back to St. Louis, and so we'll get that squared away with her and find out early returns and thoughts on her game that's coming up this weekend. And then Marty Jelleme joining us at 10:30. Then we'll get into our sound having to do with the USMNT as they get ready for Portugal tonight, and all of the other news, notes, things, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. But like I said, the 245s, if you have multi-screen, then watch multi-screen. If you have one to watch, I would watch Italy and Bosnia-Herzegovina just because of the stadium, the setup, and it is one of those venues that you really only get to see. I mean, unless you are going to go to Zenica, Bosnia. It's a 14,000 seat stadium right now. 9,000 are only in. Okay, no dilly, no dally. We got to bring the man in because he's got like 19 different things to do today. I'm not kidding, brother. You're the one that's like, yeah, I got to be in, I got to be out. I know you're one of the busiest men in show business, especially after what happened this morning, where the verbiage is now what? Close to an agreement. What's the phrase that pays with Roberto De Zerbi right now?
Yeah, I think Roberto De Zerbi has an agreement in principle with Spurs, as I broke maybe like an hour ago. So
Right.
this is going to happen barring any surprises or complications. And in fact, the final formalities are not even related to Roberto De Zerbi. It's about the makeup of his backroom staff. So this is a real risk-reward appointment for Spurs on paper, long-term deal. Their top candidate to be the permanent head coach. All of that's positive. But he's got to do something in 7 games, because if Spurs go out, we need to understand what will happen. And you could definitely make an argument if Roberto De Zerbi comes in as the new permanent long-term coach, takes Tottenham down and then wants to leave. That's even more embarrassing and damning as far as Tottenham are concerned. So this is the dictionary definition, as I just said in an interview with Sirius about 10 minutes ago, of a risk-reward appointment.
Yes, the phrase that pays today. I mean, why? Initially there was talk of it being Sean Dyche, but he's getting more money sitting on the beach from his time at Nottingham Forest, and he'd be taking a pay cut to go. What was it? Just basically writing a big honking check and saying 5 years, and so come in and save us for these 7 games for De Zerbi? Was that the bottom line, you think?
I don't think money is necessarily a huge motivating factor, although we should point out that he's the 3rd best paid manager in the Premier League, assuming, as I say, that he stays and does at least 1 full season. He'll go down in the history books as 3rd behind Mikel Arteta and Pep Guardiola. De Zerbi, for me, has made 2 considerations. One is short term, and they've thrown the kitchen sink at him. So money is a factor there because there is a huge stay-up bonus. But then the second aspect, if you can keep Tottenham up, is actually more about control. And that's the big difference. So Roberto De Zerbi was approached by Fabio Paratici, former co-sporting director and consultant, and Daniel Levy before Thomas Frank was hired. And they said to De Zerbi, we want to give you the job. And De Zerbi said no, because he didn't think he was necessarily a fit within that sporting model, where obviously both Paratici and Levy carried a lot of control. Now we'll be heading into a summer, if Tottenham stay up, where they will rebuild their sporting department. And remember, this was supposed to be about Paratici going and a new co-sporting director coming in before the permanent head coach to be part of the process. But now it's happened the other way around. So managers very rarely, Mikel Arteta, after Edu left, is maybe the most recent example. Eddie Howe to an extent at Newcastle as well. But rarely does a manager get to pick the sporting director and be part of that chemistry building process. And De Zerbi has basically been told, unlike previous Spurs managers under Daniel Levy, you're going to have a lot of autonomy in the market. You're going to have a lot of say about who comes in. And I think control is why Roberto De Zerbi views this as a project fit. But the project will change so dramatically if Tottenham end up in the Championship that it's almost 2 jobs. It's 7 games, keep Tottenham up, earn a lot of money, then build your project. But if Tottenham go down, we still have to understand how Roberto De Zerbi will view that, and whether actually he'll want out of this 5-year contract after only 7 weeks or so.
All right, and I know that the time that we do get to grab onto you, like I said, it's like grabbing a comet by the tail sometimes, or water through an open hand, is when you're over here on this coast and you get to come and hang out with us for a few. Tonight, U.S., Portugal, takeaways from game number 1 with the U.S. when we saw each other passing ships in the night in the press box at Mercedes-Benz, and you were Portugal practice, caught up with Roberto Martinez yesterday. What are some of your overarching thoughts heading into tonight about the USMNT?
Yeah, I think there's sort of 2 narratives. There's inside the US men's national team camp, where they're calm about a resounding defeat 5-2 to Belgium, and maybe the fan feeling heading into this Portugal game that something is needed to show that this US men's national team are capable of going head-to-head with the best. What I find surprising about Pochettino, but in a quite refreshing way, is he's been speaking about this team as contenders to go far in the tournament. And virtually every national team manager, even Thomas Tuchel at England, is saying game by game, win the group, get out the group. But I think Pochettino's mentality is that's not actually a massive achievement. Maybe in previous World Cups, yes, but this is an expanded World Cup where 48 go to 32, and you can get out the group by finishing 3rd. So if you don't set the mentality and the bar higher, then you build a culture of It'll be all right if we win one, draw one, lose one in the group. It'll be all right if we say we got the knockout stage and then go immediate. Pochettino demands more. And naturally, by a logical conclusion, more equals quarterfinal being a very solid result for the US men's national team, and anything else potentially being deemed as quite underwhelming. There's caveats, of course. They could win every game in the group stage and they could just get a ridiculously tough draw because somebody else underperforms. But I think if everything went according to plan, the US are looking at quarterfinal or better. And to be a quarterfinal or better team, you can't get thrashed even in a friendly to both Belgium and Portugal because it shows a gulf in talents. And this is why I think, even though it is a friendly, there's slightly more pressure tonight on the US men's national team to at least put in a performance, even though my personal view is I agree with Pochettino that friendly results don't mean a great deal. More important for me, if we get into the nitty gritty, is who is his number one goalkeeper, Matt Freese or Matt Turner? Is he going to play a back four or a back three? Chris Richards is going to be important. Does Tim Ream start? If it's Ream and Richards, I think one more, and then you get the best out of the fullbacks. And then, of course, there's some selection headaches. Ricardo Pepi has been reintegrated into the squad. Is he going to play enough and perform at the level required to make the final selection? And where are the goals going to come from? There's still a lot of pressure on Balogun. Weston McKennie is taking a lot of chances, and I think he'll shoulder a lot of the burden on alleviating the pressure on Balogun. And then in the Belgium game, Christian Pulisic had one chance where he sort of cut inside brilliantly and then leant back and tried to bend one in and ended up skying it over the bar. And then if you look at Belgium's best goal from the right-hand side, similar kind of player, cuts inside from the right and buries it in the corner. So I think Pulisic as captain is very dismissive of pressure, and that's a good thing. But Pulisic, the player, still has to raise that standard to actually have goals output for the US national team, which he has predominantly. 32 goals in 83 games is outstanding on paper, but this isn't just about massaging those numbers now. This is almost about saying my numbers are wiped, blank slate, first game of the World Cup. Can Christian Pulisic get as many goal contributions by the end of the tournament as games he plays in? And if he can, then I believe the US men's national team can go far.
All right. I know you got to get out of here because you've got another appointment at the top of the hour. Most important question you will have here. How much food have you been able to partake outside of that hotel room? Because I know that you've been locked in there. It's like either been practice, hotel, or game. Have you had the chance to sample any food?
Yeah, we went to an incredible steakhouse, and that was near the Beltline. I'm not going to name names, by the way, in case there's any commercial conflicts, but
no conflicts. Name it, man. Hit me.
I think it was called Keith Ruffin's Steakhouse.
Oh, Keith,
I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe I get that name wrong.
Okay. Yeah. So
that was fantastic. And
there you go.
It was like a Wagyu sirloin, unbelievable. And luckily we were hosted by some people affiliated to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and they were very kind to show us the center of town. But to be honest, the best snacks, at least, that I've had come from within the stadium itself. And it's an absolute joy covering a game at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium because everyone's so hospitable. It, for me, visually and in terms of its infrastructure, is up there as a contender for not just the best stadium in America, but one of the best stadiums in the world. Great atmosphere, no issue with climate because of the roof. But the best thing above all else is the soft serve ice cream and the popcorn that we can get as media in the media center. And I have found myself genuinely, particularly during the Club World Cup, looking down at my soft serve ice cream, taking a massive bite, looking up and realizing I've missed a goal.
Carvel ice cream and Ben Jacobs. We have finally made the impact we're supposed to. Get out of here, sir. I'll see you at the stadium tonight. You've got one at 10 o'clock. Great to see you, my friend. Don't be a stranger.
Look forward to it. Keep up the good one, my friend. See you at the game
there
later.
We go. Ben Jacobs from TalkSport amongst all the other places. And he has learned the value of Carvel. Attaboy. Fantastic. That's great. All right. So, yeah, Ben, my guess is that Ben was probably doing something overseas, and he's got to go back to doing something overseas. And so that's why I was asking if he even got out of the hotel. So he went to Ruffin Steakhouse on the Beltline. So hang on. Let me see where he was here. Hang on. So, let's see. Best steakhouses. So, best steakhouses on the best places to eat and drink on the Beltline. So, it was a steakhouse on the Beltline. We have no kind of we have no conflicts of interest, and so obviously the New Realm, Ponce City Market, Glide, Lady Bird, Painted Park, Kevin Rathbun. Okay, so we went to Kevin Rathbun's place. Okay, there you go. So we went to Kevin Rathbun's Steakhouse. Good deal. All right, so Kevin Rathbun's Steakhouse. No, you can't go wrong there. So Kevin Rathbun's Steakhouse. Understood completely. But yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, so we got 4 minutes, kind of, sort of, to get into the Paul Quinn piece. And he goes through all of the fiscal years of Eagle football, goes into all of the rationale and all of the reasons, and he goes into benchmarking against European peers, trading model, player amortization, and so his analysis ends this way. Primary takeaway for professional peers is that Eagle Football Group has become a pure play on player trading and stadium attendance, having stripped away its diversification into women's sports, U.S. franchises, and multi-purpose arenas to serve as a high-interest debt facility from Ares Capital. This is the article that he wrote on the 30th. The one 2 days earlier gets into the real navigation of what is owed to whom, and a lot of it's owned to Ares, and he does a blow-by-blow on this. And like I said, we're efforting having Paul come in to discuss these two pieces. With media rights in France facing a prolonged period of stagnation and personnel costs remaining stubbornly high due to previous recruitment commitments, the path back to a positive and sustainable EBITDA, earnings before interest, and all the other things, including amortization, appears increasingly narrow. Appointment of administrators in March of 26 for the parent entity Bidco suggests the next phase of the group's evolution will involve a significant restructuring of its liabilities, including the sale of the club to a more conservatively capitalized owner or a debt for equity swap with its mezzanine lenders. That's probably where I think it's going. Until such a restructuring occurs, Eagle Football Group remains a cautionary tale of the risks inherent in leveraged multi-club ownership models within fragile economic ecosystem of French professional football. So that was the analysis. Literally what Paul Quinn did is he went back and looked at everything over the last 5 years and looked at their earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. That's when you see EBITDA, EBITDA, as it's referred to as accountants. That's what that is. Serves as a metric. That's the primary indicator of cash flow generation and the ability to service a sophisticated, costly, and ultimately burdensome debt architecture. Cyclical recovery, strategic monetization of non-core assets, and structural confrontation with the escalating costs of elite football competition. Basically, it's like, okay, what that is not an actual person can help me get rid of some of this debt. And in the case of Happy to Be Here FC and Crystal Palace, it was sell them to Woody Johnson, most of that money going to Ares. And so it was big deep dive by Paul Quinn recommended, and here is the second link of that, the back side piece of that conversation that Paul Quinn had. Here's your link, and here's half of your required reading on the day. It's over at the esk.org. So there you go. There it is. All right, now it is 9:59-ish, pushing 10 o'clock, and shocking no one, Kacey D's in a hotel room. She's in a hotel room, parts unknown. So here we go. Time to catch up with Kacey D. What part of the planet are you on?
I'm in.
She's in freezing land is where she is. Literally, she starts talking and it froze. Yeah, literally, she starts talking and it froze. It's one of those days again.
I am on enhanced internet, so I don't know why this will happen.
I don't either. That's crazy. She's on enhanced internet and it froze like twice. this is the fun part of having stuff with Kacey. Literally, Kacey just started talking, and the internet gods were like, no, not happening. It is not happening. So you see, that's literally what we're staring at with Kacey. Now, my guess is Kacey is probably going to go outside the hotel room, and she's going to be in the parking lot to discuss things. No, okay, so she's staying inside the hotel room.
I have nowhere else I can go, so this is my best.
You can't go outside.
I am like 4 things up. I've got 5 bars right now. This is as good as it's gonna get, John. Sorry.
No worries. No, it's all good. No, I'm just making fun of hotel internet. I am not. Trust me, I'm not making fun of you at all. It's just
I got
the
enhanced
Russians.
internet, but I guess 5G is the better option because now I'm on 5G and on my phone, and we're doing okay.
Okay, so I'll take your word for it. That as we learn going forward. So you're in parts unknown, doing like 98 different things all season long. And for those that follow you on Instagram, you're getting into your NWSLness, where literally it's like, okay, she's NWSL on this day, and she's Major League Soccer on this day, and so all of the schedules blending together. How busy are you in the next month?
Pretty busy, but this is my last busy week, and then I get a 10-day period off, which is like unknown unless it's like the winter months. So I'm doing an event right now in Columbus, Georgia, and then I go to Salt
Really?
Lake on the weekend, and then it picks up about mid-month. So then I'll be quite busy again till the World Cup break.
What are you doing in Columbus, Georgia?
I'm doing an event for AFLAC. I'm doing a speaking engagement later today. So I'm like a keynote speaker for a conference they have here.
Okay, so do you get the sky blue blazer? Do you get to hang out with the duck? What's the deal?
I hope so. I don't know what to expect. I'm hoping that's the case. We'll see.
And so if you get the sky blue blazer and then get to sit there and have the duck have you wander around on campus. Okay, so then since you are there, how long are you there for?
Just till tomorrow.
Okay. There are a couple of, and this is probably going to sit there and you're going to stare at me and go, gee, I'm not surprised that he would know stuff about Columbus, Georgia. If you are into hot dogs, and I mean like chili dogs, really well cooked homemade chili dogs, there are a couple of places there on the Veterans Memorial Parkway
Okay.
that you can get great chili dogs from. And I mean, you're going to probably, knowing you'd probably go out and run like 17 miles the next day. But if you're
Maybe.
like there's some great just home cooking places down there right on the river. So if you want some great home cooking, you can go there and get that done. Sit there, and you're going, yeah, I knew Nelson would know about that kind of stuff.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. I might have to take you up on that. By the way, can you see me? Because it shows that you can see me, but I don't know if you can.
No, I can't, but it doesn't really matter. It's right now the fact that we can hear you. I will take that over you wandering into a parking lot and trying to get stuff squared away.
Okay, I can see myself, but it's saying it's not working, so I wasn't sure. But at least we're here.
Yes. All right. So NWSL is where I wanted to kind of have most of the discussion this morning. And for those that follow you on social medias, they get to see kind of behind the scenes. You have Victory Plus this year that is attached to NWSL and Ion and all the different rights holders and everything. When you look at what you've seen so far, let's start with what happened in Denver this past weekend, where the gauntlet has been set for NWSL Atlanta Team 17. 63,004 was the number that was posted at Mile High. It was great scenes, even though there weren't any goals on the board. Good showing for Denver at home with a lot of folks watching.
It definitely was. I think anybody that has been a fan of women's soccer, has been a former player, a former coach, current players, even current coaches, staff, like almost was it was just one of those surreal moments, like where you're not in awe because you knew it could come, but you didn't maybe know like how many people would actually show up to this game. And to hear that number when Jordan Angeli announced that and announced the number, I think everyone was just in shock. I mean, we've been watching it for a couple weeks now of, okay, it's 40,000, it's 50,000. Like, what was the final number going to be? And I'm just so happy for the players that were able to experience that, the coaches. Jordan Angeli is a good friend, and she's been working on this for a lot of years, and was just happy to see it come to fruition.
So you end up with what we're seeing with Denver Summit, and they're going to be in 3 separate stadia. They started off at Mile High, then they're going to Commerce City to go have some matches at Dick's before their own stadium is set to go. What did you think about their build and how they were trying to present themselves here in year 1 as this new franchise?
I think they were really strategic in what they did, and they brought some players in that had league experience, like a Kaylee Kurtz and a Janine Sonis, like players that could provide leadership. They happen to also be on the back line as well. So I think that there were some really smart strategic moves for the core of the team, the heartbeat of the team, and what that would look like from real experience in the league. Obviously, we all know that Lindsay Heaps is coming in July, but that is obviously great. And the entire Denver community will be so happy to have her. The whole NWSL community will be happy to have her back, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But I think they had to build it strategically early on. They also got some players that seem hungry, that maybe haven't played as much or have come from other leagues that are contributing. So, and they brought in a great coach, a great manager. And so I think that they are overachieving for what a first year franchise should be doing, but I'm not surprised by the fact that they have had some of that success early because of the experience they brought in.
Boston's the other new team that is in, and they're at Foxborough right now before their stadium closer to downtown gets made. Boston, what have you thought about what they've been bringing to the table so far?
Boston's interesting. They're kind of those Mavericks, you know, that play and they get after it. And every game I've watched, I haven't been able to watch every game of theirs, but the games I have watched, you get that feeling of they're going to fight. They're creative. They have some flair. They have some speed up top, which is a bit scary. But then it just kind of tails off as the game goes on. Frustration has been setting in with them. I will say in this game this last weekend, I really thought that there should have been a penalty to Boston early, and they let the frustration show. And there were 2 calls right in a row that they were really upset about, and that Utah stayed in it, got their goals, and were able to put it away. So I think there's just some, figuring out discipline wise and how to put it all together. But for them, getting the first goal, that's kind of nice just to get that going. Now they have to figure out how to put together a 90-minute performance.
And at the top of the table, and we'll just go top down here because there's stories all across the NWSL. Angel City, it was almost like, all right, we're done messing around for, however you want to qualify that. It was an unsatisfactory year by their own admission last year. They once again continue to invest in players and bring folks back. And they're 3 for 3 out of the blocks. And it's like you've scored 9, you've only given up 2. And Angel City's at the top, a place that we're not used to seeing them over the last couple of seasons.
Yes. I think when I look at the table, it is a table of just like unexpected sites, to be quite honest with you. And Angel City is the primary one. I think everyone's thought that they've had these pieces to be able to put together, but to see them at the very top of the table is something different. It's something exciting. One thing we've always talked about every year with the NWSL is how tight the table always is. But now, not only is it tight early in the season, but we're seeing a flip of who's up there. I mean, not only Angel City, but you've got Houston in the top half. You have Denver hanging on to the top half, tied with a few teams. Bay FC is now up there after their win versus North Carolina Courage. You've got some that are kind of expected to be up there. And then you've got the flip side on a couple that we're not used to seeing in the bottom half. And so it's really interesting early on. I'm glad to see Angel City performing well, though. They're doing a really nice job early in the season.
Yeah, you mentioned Bay, and they're right now 2-1 after their first 3. Then you looked in below the playoff bar. Gotham right now is at number 9. They've only got 4 points in their first hand, or they got 5 points in their first handful of matches. Then below Gotham, it is Washington Spirit at 12, in 12th with 3 points in their first 4 matches. Kansas City's the same, and they've given up a boatload of goals to start off the season. I'll go ahead and ask, what in the wide world of sports is going on in D.C. and Kansas City?
Oh, it's the NWSL, John. It happens. It doesn't happen to them very often, but it does happen. I think that it's too early for a panic button for any of these teams.
Oh,
But
come on. I can't believe you're trying to be pragmatic about it.
it's actually what I truly believe. It's early. It's early. However, we have learned from other franchises. It was Louisville a few years ago, when Racing was tying a ton of games, it came back to bite them. Utah Royals went on a crazy long streak of no wins last year, then tried to make a run at the end and almost made a run to the last playoff spot, just couldn't quite do it. You can put yourself in a hole very quickly. That's what they need to be careful of. Now, do I think they're going to stay down there? Both of those teams? No, I don't necessarily think that. Kansas City had a huge loss in losing Claire Hutton.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to put it all on that, but that is a glue type player. And yes, I know she's young, but my goodness, is she good. And she's so comfortable on the ball. She allows everyone else to do their job and just closes things down in midfield. So that's a big one. For Washington, the fluidity in the attack just isn't quite there yet, but they have the ability. They have all the attacking threats. They could have been up 3 or 4-0 on Utah in the game I had. It was just that finishing in the final third. So they're creating chances and still could be scary down the line. But Gotham and KC play this weekend, so I think we'll have even more answers after that.
Ooh. So, I mean, with those two squaring off, I mean, I look at that. I'm just going to sit here and say it right now. I think it's going to be a draw. I mean, because the issues that we've seen with both, I think they kind of cancel each other out. You see how I work when it comes to my expert picking here.
I do see that, yes.
Yeah, and you see that, and you see by my wardrobe how successful I really am when it comes to. But it's
Love
like
it.
you have two teams that are kind of hiccuping their way through right now, and I imagine that. And this will be my coaching question for you after this. It's just that right now they're trying to feel out and figure out with all the new faces and integrating, knowing what they want to be by the end of the year. It's all in the pacing for these two, I would think.
I think so. It's really how you manage these moments, especially dealing with a team like Kansas City, because Gotham has been through their ups and downs, and then they come up and they win a championship. I think we all know the grit that Gotham has. A team like Kansas City has had so much success that they need the management from the top to not panic, to not be overly worried, to take it seriously, problem solve, but trust in the players because they have an incredibly good roster. So the leadership on the field is going to be very important as well as they navigate this time period. I think this weekend is really interesting for all of the NWSL because you have a team like Kansas City playing Gotham, but you've also got teams that are in that top half, like a Houston. Utah's not quite in the top half, but they're trending upwards playing against a Chicago, Houston playing against a Racing Louisville. So it's all these matchups of like who are you going to be this year? Can you cement what you've already accomplished and provide separation, or can you show if you're one of the lower teams, hey, this isn't who we are, and get a win to put you on the right track? So I think it's a critical game weekend for these teams.
Okay, all right. So this is where you put on your coach's cap here.
Let's do it.
We're going to go inside the locker room. And how is it on a day-to-day when you have a team that knows they should be better? How do you continue those conversations about reminding them not to grip? Don't grip. The hockey term is gripping the stick too tightly, where you're putting too much pressure on yourself and what you can do because of the internal pressure between the ears. It's not coming out the way that you know that you can do it when you're out there on the field. What are the motivational conversations or the conversations that you have to remind everyone on these rosters, hey, we're cool. It's early. Just keep doing the thing and trust in yourself. How do you have those veterans continue to keep that message between the ears so they don't completely and totally lose their minds? And then for the younger players who might not necessarily have been in a situation like this before, look, it's early. Don't freak out. I know you're freaking out, but don't freak out. How do you manage those conversations when it comes to the day to day if you're off to a rough start?
One of the main pieces you hit on was the internal pressure. I think it's a good point to say you have to limit the external pressure. Like we live in a digital world where in media world that everyone's talking about, like a Kansas City.
Yeah.
You know, oh, what's going on with them? Are they going to be bad this year? What's happening? You have to limit the external noise and create a bubble as much as you can. We all know we can't do it completely, but you have to look internal of what are we doing here week by week. I think the best thing you can do as a coach is you don't ignore the issue, but you go to work. So if there's something that needs to be solved tactically, if there's something that, okay, we got to look at the scout for this next week. How do we address what just happened by addressing the tactics of what went wrong? But then when and how do we direct the attention to the following week? I think in doing that, it's a very fine line of not ignoring the issue, but also not dwelling on the issue. So this is what I've talked about in the past with you of having a pulse of your group, knowing when to approach subjects and when not to. And that's where your connection with your leadership comes in. For all these clubs, your leadership on the field has the better pulse of the group than a coach will ever have.
Okay.
And the sooner a coach accepts that, the better, because you can really use that to your advantage of understanding that. The next part is making sure your leadership, keeps their eye on the prize as well. And you keep them calm and you keep them confident. Because if that happens, it'll trickle down to your first year players.
And in Kansas City, you have a first-year coach who has experience in the Division I level in the United States, in Chris Armas. He's coming over from Major League Soccer. So to me, that's another interesting part of this dynamic where Chris has been, he's been at Manchester United. Shoot, he's been at Red Bulls. He's been in Toronto. He's been in Colorado. So he knows Major League Soccer. He's seen the Premier League in various shapes, ways, and forms. And now he comes over and is coaching in the NWSL. So while it's a different perspective because of his CV, it's the same perspective because he's been a head coach in high pressure situations before.
I really have enjoyed my chats with Chris Armas over the last years. When I've covered his games, he has a great tactical brain. He's an intense coach. He gets competitive. I've just really enjoyed that. I think that one of the things we all have to be careful of when we're watching teams is that a team like Kansas City had a year last year that no one's ever had. Like they were not going to replicate that, right? So I think that it's kind of just one of those situations where it can go to the dramatics. And this is where people will be like, Kacey, you're too level headed. I'm like, well, sorry, I coach. Like, I just don't go to the dramatics immediately. I think that Chris Armas has the ability to lead this team and turn this around. And that's why I said you lean on your leadership. And that's not just him because he's coming over to the women's game. That's if there was a new coach there from another women's club, like coming over, like those to me ring true, whether you're a male in the female game or a female in the male game. People are people, and there's nuances to every club and there's nuances to every league that you have to learn. But I think it's about keeping a level head because these are professional elite athletes. And they usually can self-correct with a little bit of guidance.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah, that's my real opinion, John.
All of this level-headedness. I don't know. I don't know where all this level-headedness has come. How long did it? So then, let me ask you this: how long did it take you to be this level-headed as a coach?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll be honest, I've always been decently calm as a coach and level-headed. It's grown through the years. And I will say the only things that really get me riled up are like non-negotiables of like work ethic or some character things, or like I'll get riled up. But when it comes to just the game,
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty level-headed by nature, which is it's who I am. I don't know if it's good or bad, but that's who I am, and that's how I look at the game. So it's interesting.
Yeah, the whole level-headedness thing is something that you really don't see. Adding context to situations in a reactive world. It's like the instant we want the instant results. We
Yeah.
want the microwave meal. We want it to be fantastic. We throw the mini meal in a minute later. Hey, there's lunch.
Yeah.
Those
Well, I've definitely had those moments. Don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect. I've definitely had those moments, but you learn from them. Like, I mean, I had one of those moments here recently watching Duke lose, but in the positive way, in my opinion, where I absolutely lost my mind in the best way. But we won't go there, But just, a Tar Heel fan, I had to throw that out there.
Well, alumna, fan, player, choice D, all the above. Kacey D's in Columbus. She's going to be sharing a stage with a duck today, and
Yes.
she might be going down the river in a kayak by the time it's over with.
Maybe.
Squared away. Let's see. So on Friday, it's going to be traditionally busy. It is Boston and San Diego. It is Orlando and Angel City, which to me is an early marker for both of those teams. You mentioned Houston and Racing Louisville and Utah and Chicago. What is going on in Chicago? They just can't seem to. It's like every time they want to take a step forward, they step on a rake. I don't know what's going on in Chicago.
I don't either. I don't have answers for that. I feel like you're right. Like when they have a positive performance, positive result, it's like the next week it's back to what they were before. So a lot of times when you're trying to make changes and build clubs, like it can feel a little bit like that at some point. It'll have to level out either way, you would think, because they do have the talent to pull out games and they have some goal scoring ability. So we'll see. This is a big one versus Utah this weekend for Chicago. I mentioned it for Utah being big. Like, who does Utah want to prove that they are? And can they provide separation from teams that are at the bottom? But the same is true for Chicago of, can we put together solid performances?
Yep. Saturday, Kansas City, Gotham. That's going to be huge at CPKC. Courage in Portland, Seattle and Denver. Sunday, Bay and Washington. Once again, Bay with the early marker, 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon on the Deuce, going up against Washington Spirit. Obviously, you're going to wrap the weekend fairly well. Who have been some of the younger players that have really impressed you so far coming out of the blocks?
Oh, Alex Pfeiffer is a big one. We've known about her obviously with Kansas City. She's been like so impressive with Kansas City, but just like had the injury. It was all about talk, and she wasn't able to get a lot of the playing time that she wanted to get. Now with Bay FC getting goals, what I like about her is she is so competitive. Like you can just see it. Like when she scores a goal, it's like a in your face moment, which I kind of like out of her. I just like the energy that she brings. She's young. She's got skills in the 18, well beyond her years and composure. So she's a top one for me.
Okay. MLS this weekend. Are you back? Are you going back to St. Louis for like the 90th time?
No, I'm going to Salt Lake actually.
Okay, cool. All right.
I
So,
am.
Salt Lake, who's RSL taking on this weekend?
Sporting KC.
Okay. So, you've got that one. Sporting Kansas City, they are a team in transition. David Lee, the sporting director, said before the season that they were going to be bringing in 10, 12, 14 new faces. It is showing so far. And you get RSL, who, if you're sleeping on Pablo Mastroeni right now, we got to see it here in Atlanta earlier this year. You've got a lot of young talent under the age of 21 that, especially at the right-hand side of the attack, that you found out about because you had injuries, and Pablo Mastroeni had to sit there and go, okay, what am I going to do? I don't have Yedlin. I don't have Anelli. I don't have Diego Luna. And so then what do? You put in Xavier Gozo on the right-hand side and Azarkani, and you're just like you're running rampant up the right-hand side. So this one at face value looks like it might be a long night for Sporting and a reaffirmation of the building through the program for RSL.
I think you're right. I think on the outside looking in, that's the expectation. And then I go and I see like only a 1-0 loss to San Diego from Sporting KC. Okay, it's a loss. I get it. Like it's still a loss at the end of the day, but it's San Diego. And so there's these performances where they get the win versus LA, they get a tight one versus San Diego. But then they have these big losses towards other teams, whether it's San Jose, whether it's Colorado most recently, where they leak goals. So it could be a long night. But I think that they could have some tactical approaches to being on the road that could make it a little bit harder for Salt Lake. We'll see. But you're right. And with this Salt Lake team, you still got Luna that's continuing to be more reinserted into the attack. So any coach will tell you that depth and not knowing like that you had the talent you had, not necessarily not knowing, but having to play some of those younger players and them stepping up to the challenge. And now you have these harder decisions to make and the depth across your roster. Any coach will tell you that that is the best problem to have
All
as
right.
a coach.
No doubt. One question from Dell, who is in Charleston, and he's one of our A-listers. Question for you. Any new players that should get a call up to the next WNT camp?
Oh, great question. Any players that should get a call up?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I've got to think on that one.
Well,
Ooh.
if you want to eat some local Columbus, Georgia hot dogs and ruminate over this question, you could do that and just let me know, and then we'll let Dell know.
I will do that because I don't want to just throw someone out there. That's a big one. Being a former player with the U.S. team, I don't just throw that out. So I've got to think on that a little bit more because some of the ones that are popping into my head are already national team players and they're on their recent performance. So let me think on that one, Dell, and I'll get one back to you.
Okay, so KCD is going to go hang out with a duck, and hopefully she is bestowed the sky blue blazer. Do we know if either Dion or Coach Saban is going to be joining you in addition to the duck?
Look, they didn't want to upstage me, and they would. So, they were very polite and are staying home, I think, for this one.
Okay, so KCD is hanging out in Columbus, and we will catch up with you again this time next week, where we'll take a peek at what happened in the NWSL. We'll take a peek at what happened in Major League Soccer, and we'll keep moving forward here. I think after this week, it's like a 3-week break for the NWSL for camps and things like that. So we're going to be all MLS all the time with KCD. So enjoy your time with the duck.
Thank you.
And kick them and just knock them dead, and we'll catch up with you again next week, Case.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
There we go. KCD, where she be? She be in Columbus. And so she's hanging out with the folks from ATLUTD. So that's good stuff from there. And apparently 4th floor hotel rooms, when it comes to Wi-Fi, they do not agree. And I think the Russians are involved, but that's just me. All right. It is time to do the hot tag, where like you make the long dive from one corner of the ring to the other. And the guy that's got all the energy comes in. That's where we are right now. And it's always fun to catch up with our friend Marty Jelleme, the head coach, the Atlanta United Unified team. We get to preview 2026. Marty, what is up?
Hey, how you doing? Looking forward to it.
Questions more for you than it is for me. And as you see here, next to the boss, you're right here. There's the rolled up scarf because
I love it.
Well, because she had to reinforce the line that has to hold the drapes up. Because I had too many winter scarves up here, Marty, and the line started to sag, and so she had to reinforce the line with the curtains, and so she had to do like a double curtain rod back here, so not everything fell, and so she got real imaginative and has put you front and center here over my left shoulder.
I love it. Maybe we'll add a few more winter scarves by the end of the season this year.
Ooh, I dig that. That's pretty cool. I like that idea. We will obviously show them off as well as we can. When you look back at the 25 season, so we'll go backward before we come forward. When you look back at the 25 season, what sticks in your mind about the experience and the new frontiers and the new places and the players and all that kind of stuff that you got to experience with the unified team and what everybody got to experience? What sticks in your mind that you're carrying with you from 25?
Speed is one. Our team is super, super competitively fast compared to almost everybody else. And we haven't really utilized that in the past. So a little teaser for going forward, but we'll just leave that at that for now. Traveling and stuff like that's been just amazing. The first team's always great. They're so open to our players and things along that line. So it makes it so much better. And I think Atlanta does such a better job than a lot of the other clubs. New places to go, which is great. A lot of the kids hadn't been places that we were last year. So, and especially now, the Houston trip was just what a great week. I mean, 5 or 6 games, came back with a cup. The learning that went on at that week, because we were in a dorm by ourselves. I mean, I can't even tell you the experiences and the life skills that that a lot of our players learned on that trip. And let me tell you, it was exhausting. By the end of the week, we for some reason we got stuck with the morning game every day except the last one. So we were up at like 6 or 5:30, didn't even have breakfast any morning till the last day because we were always the first ones on the pitch. So what a great week. I mean, it was amazing.
I mean, when they knocked on your door for that tournament, and this was a tournament that had worldwide participation. I mean, this was like you're getting folks from Europe to be over and be a part of this, to be a part of the Genuine World Cup that happened last July. And I mean, it's like the Netherlands, it's Ajax, it's Tigres, it's Inter Milan. I mean, it's
Rangers, Newcastle.
I mean,
who else?
crazy. Tarragona, Valencia, Benfica, Sporting Club.
Yeah, Australia was there. We had a team from Australia who was there. I mean, one of the coolest things was we're sitting there, and we hear it in the United States, but not as much when you get the chants going, right? And they're chanting back and forth at the stadiums, especially down in Mexico and things like that. The lunchrooms, you would walk in, and literally you would have 3 clubs in there, La Tigres, and I can't remember the other 2. And they're screaming at the top of their lungs, chanting. One would chant, then the next one would chant, the next one would chant. I mean, it was like being in a stadium at dinner time. It was just unbelievable. And to see the spirit and all that from some of those other clubs, it was just great. Great.
When you're in an environment like that, what's it like for you as someone who has been at the front of this movement with Atlanta United to see other unified teams from not just the North America, but around the world? You know, when we were growing up, you know, you'd go to summer camp and you'd have, you know, time where you'd sit there and you spend time in the stereotypic cabin. You get up at 6:30, you're learning how to kayak and all those kinds of things. This kind of a summer camp, to me, seems incredibly invaluable because of what you learn about yourself as an athlete, as a student athlete, as a person, and even for the adults in the room. You get to learn about yourself, not just as a coach, but as an adult. This seems like one of those three-dimensional kind of learning experiences for everybody.
Oh, totally. And especially because MLS kind of has a different philosophy compared to most of the other groups around the country. Like, we primarily play unified.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that MLS looks at unified is the inclusion part going, you know, we want to bring those high school and college kids in, get them exposed to our players, and be able to take that back out into society. And then when they go to school, they meet the kids, or they're at the mall, and all those interactions start happening. Most of the other world, when it comes to this, it's straight players. It's not unified. So their philosophy is, wait a minute, if you've got 20 kids, they should be 20 kids with disabilities no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the things. It was definitely a tug between coaches, because like I particularly like the unified. I understand both,
mm-hmm.
but I like the unified because it's the exposure and growing the influence of sports and things like that in the community. Where if you don't have that unified part, I think you miss out on a lot of that, because it's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the world doesn't think that way for the most part when it comes to clubs. They want strictly players. So that was a big learning experience, and a learning experience as a team, because now our team had to play without partners, which took us at least two matches to get the hang of it, because now they've got to grind a little bit more. They're the ones getting, not that they're not grinding in the matches that we play, but they've got to totally make all their own actions, where now they can rely on the partners a little bit. So it was great. I mean, it was an interesting philosophy.
This is the question where we go, I guess, Unified 101. When it comes to playing with partners, if you would, for those that might just kind of know casually about Atlanta United Unified, and they know that matches happen. They might hang out after a match, a first team match, to watch a unified match. What are some of the differences and the nuances that are there when it comes to the unified matches that folks will get to see?
So the way that we play, and it's not the way that all the MLS teams play, is our unified partners, which are players without disabilities versus our players with disabilities, are there to facilitate the game. They are not there to score. They are there to get the ball, do the pass, and then have our other players move the ball forward, do the scoring and all that. Our partners don't shoot for the most part until another team shoots on us and scores. Our partners are like, we want our players to be the focus. We want them to have all the glory, and they'll feed them the whole time. Okay. So that is a little bit of a difference compared to our team versus other clubs. But that's kind of what it is.
And what we have seen over time, over the last couple of years, where it used to be end to end, it used to be east-west. Now it is north and south. It is, you're going for most of the distance of a regulation UEFA MLS soccer pitch. You're getting these kind of evolutions over time. What has it been like for you and the staff to see the game evolve to where it is now, where you're going almost, end to end, instead of just doing it like a couple of years ago, like the matchup at Red Bulls, where it was side to side, and you're now
going side to side, exactly. And so, what a change!
Yeah,
I mean, it's watching the progression of the players. Now we're even looking at like long balls and bringing it down the middle, where before, if you're playing quarter pitch or half pitch, there's not really an offsides. They don't have to know that rule. Your long balls and your across the fields to switch sides isn't as prevalent because the pitch is so much smaller. Now that we're on this huge pitch, it looks just like your regular soccer game, and we play it that way. A lot of the teams also park the bench, as we call it, on us now. They put all their partners in the back, and now we got to figure out how are we going to break that down. We've added some speed to the team, so I think you're going to see we're going to start doing a few more long balls to kind of spread it out. And then if we can do that, then we can drive down the middle and also maybe send some of our partners to the side to do some crosses. So we've got some things to look at, which is great. It's much more strategy than if you're on a half a pitch, because on a half a pitch, you can't do a lot of those plays. So it's been great. And watching the other teams do it too, because there's a number of teams just like us who have started at like a 5v5 or a 7v7 and have now progressed to the 11-11 full pitch. We love the full pitch when we can. A couple of the teams pull it into the 18s, but then it's still the full width. So it's, as close as it can get.
What was recruiting season like for you with tryouts and everything? How many folks turned up, and what was it like to assemble the 26 squad this year?
Well, the interesting part was we actually had to cancel it because it was on, what was it, November last year. Remember that day that it was like, what was it, like 10 degrees or something?
Yes.
That was tryout day outside, starting at 6:30 at night. So to start with it, we had to change it. So then and then of course the next day we did it as close as we could, was still another super cold night, but we were able to make it work. It's pretty exciting to see kids that are trying out from places that I don't know. Yeah. Which is wonderful. That means the word's getting out about the program and about Unified, not just through the same, I'll call it not feeder, but the same groups that already know about it. So right. we had a couple partners and a couple players trying out from teams that we have never seen before, which was great. So that was an awesome, and some of them made the team. So we have a change of about 4 players this year and a little bit of a larger squad.
So how big is the squad this year compared to years previous?
22 versus 20. Okay. So we added 1 extra player and 1 extra partner.
Okay. It's been fun to see the team evolve over time, to see the game evolve over time. When it comes to You mentioned parking the bench. I mean, when you are like the number one team, you're like Top Gun, man, when it comes to Major League Soccer. And
I don't know about that, but I'll take the compliment.
I mean, everybody. I mean, do you remember when we were growing up? And I think it's safe to say that you and I are contemporaries, although I'm probably about 108 years old.
I'm about 106, so don't worry about it.
So do you remember the old commercial when we were growing up where Robert Conrad had the battery on his shoulder? You know, I dare you to knock it off.
Oh yes.
So that's it's like when you're number one, everybody's gunning for you, and they're trying to take that battery and knock it off your shoulder. When you're trying to coach and teach and have the unified players enjoy. Now they're going up against bench parking, and it's another aspect of the game I don't think they necessarily anticipated, but because of success that Atlanta United has now with reputation and everything, you're now getting people parking benches on you. I mean, that's like rare air, man. What's that like to handle?
The first time they did it, we were like, we didn't know. As coaches too, we were really surprised, and we're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to beat this? And then luckily, our partners, who are great stewards of the game, they come to us and say, hey, we need to try this. And we will always listen to them. If they have an idea, you know, they're on the pitch. They know it just as well as we do. You know, we're watching it from the sidelines. They're in it. We will take their advice and always at least give it a try. But yeah, Nashville parked the bus in a big way last year. It was, I mean, I'm like, what are we going to do? We finally got a couple of goals, but it took us all match until we broke it. So we're actually working on down the middle, down the sides, and long. We don't have a lot of time this year because we only have like 5 practices already.
Oh, wow.
Because, you know, we have a match, early May.
Mm-hmm.
And we started late because World Cup and games and things like that. So yeah, we're going to be under the gun our first match, let me tell you, against LA.
Yeah, and it's 4 matches this year. It is the matchup at home against LA. Then you go on the road to take on Philly and Miami. Now, are you going to be in the new stadium in Miami? Do you know that yet?
I don't know. It's funny. I go to Miami for my other job a fair amount. I looked at the stadium a month before it's open, and I'm like, I don't know how they're going to make it. So I'm hoping that it's open. I'm assuming it is. I hadn't heard anything, but I'm telling you that GC had to be working 24/7 the last month before the season opened.
Yeah,
I mean, it had to be just insane.
And they're rolling that thing out now, and so it's going to be fun. So let's say that we hope you get to be in the new stadium. And
I would think so. I mean, Miami's pretty good. When we played them before, I'm trying to think, we haven't played them there though. We've only played them here. Mm-hmm. But I would imagine that we'll be in the stadium. I'd be surprised if we're not, but we don't know for sure. Actually, Lena was talking to us yesterday. She hasn't heard exactly how all that's working out, but we're hoping.
Okay, and then you go from those 2, then you finish up at home against Chicago, I think the week before Halloween.
Yes, and very late this year. Very late.
It is. So it's May 9th at home against LAG. Then you have August 1st in Philly, September 5th in Miami, and then the week before Halloween against Chicago. I mean, you only 5 practices before you have to play LAG at Mercedes-Benz, huh?
Yeah, it was just the way it worked out this year with all the clubs, because the training grounds gets used by other clubs. So like, you know, the USMNT team was up there practicing and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of kept us out a little bit, but we'll survive. We'll probably we were talking about it last night, adding a couple practices in, get a couple extra, and I've given them some running. So they've got some homework to do in between practices, you know, little fitness work. So
2 weeks ago it was signing day, and now you're like 5 weeks away from your season opener here. You know,
super close. I don't think we've ever had one this close.
And it's really cool to see how the 17s have embraced the unified team as well, because I mean, the crowds for the home matches over the last couple of years, it's been great to see thousands of folks stay from the first team match, come over and be behind the benches and be a part of the cheering section for the unified games. I just think that that's a really cool aspect of this too. The 17s stay and they root you on because you're Atlanta United, man. We're staying and we're watching.
They are so loud. I mean, I don't think you go to any other stadium, they don't have the 17 stay like we do here. There's just the supporters are amazing here. And you're right. And I think we probably have the biggest crowds when we play compared to other stadiums. I can't think of any other one that's had as many. What about you?
No, I honestly, from all the times that we've either gone or been calling the games remotely or what have you, no, it literally is like the largest crowds we've seen have been the ones at Mercedes-Benz for your squad. And it's been really cool to see as a great byproduct of all of this, embracing the unified team as a part of the larger umbrella. If you're Atlanta United, you're Five Stripes, we're with you, and we're going to come and root for the whole thing. So,
and also we're the only ones who put the games on live, which is just another great aspect that, the Atlanta live streams the game so everybody can see it. I think we're the only ones who do it. I mean, it's a great ad. It keeps everybody interested. And the other part is the only negative part is everybody can watch our tapes from all the years past and see what we do.
I was going to ask, are you going to get any tape on LAG before they come over on May the 9th?
Nobody. We're the only ones. Nobody else does any of that I know of. As far as I know, we're the only club that puts their games on live for everyone to watch. So,
and it is a hot ticket. Thank you for coming in. I know that we're trying to grab you in between your real gig and everything for Atlanta United Unified. First match about 6 weeks away. LAG coming to town on May the 9th. The first team, and then after it's going to be the Unified Marty. It's always great to see you, and we can't wait for the season to start and for the big dogs when it comes to MLS Unified to take another great season, more great strides. Thanks for dropping by as you always do, my friend. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you. Don't be a stranger. Come watch the game. Look at the athlete. One's earning it, not me. I'm just there, like, guiding them along.
Yeah, and I'm the one that sticks the microphone in your face after, like, timeouts and everything. And you're sitting there going, oh, God, here comes Nelson. What's he going to ask now? But
it's never bad. It's always awesome.
Always good to see you, my friend. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There goes Marty Jelleme, the head coach of the Unified team. That's always fun because, look, the Atlanta United Unified team, there's a zero in that WLNT column. One of those columns got a zero to it, and that's why I meant the comment about the battery and everybody trying to knock it off. Because I mean, right now, you're talking about a team that losing is not a part of the glossary, and it's fun to see. Aside from the fact that they are one of the top teams in Unified in Major League Soccer, and the top teams in Unified, that you get to go to genuine World Cup and you get to challenge yourself against the world when it comes to the sport. That you're having the successes you are on the field, yes, but at the same time that you're an integral part of the Atlanta United fabric. That to me is just as cool in all of this, is that they are, it's Atlanta United first team, second team, academy, unified, all in a row. You're a part of it. You've got Atlanta United on the front. You're a part of it. And Abby, to your point about the 17s and being there to root on Atlanta United's unified squad. First off, for me to be on the sidelines, it's been a hoot. It has been an absolute hoot to see the first team players, with Brad Gazan being a part of it. You had Jay Fortune and Matt Edwards was there. Will Riley, I think, was there when we were doing games. But to see the first team players come out, be there as absolute cheerleaders for the whole thing, and see how they're just as supportive and they're there acting as coaches and cheerleaders the entire time. But yeah, so 17s, you guys are top notch, supporting the unified team as much as you are. And yeah, Marty makes a point. Everybody else that they're going up against, they don't have tape. For Atlanta United's unified team, they got tape. So everybody is learning about Atlanta United's unified. And the fact that Marty seems to have added speed this year, and it looks like they might be bombing it long at times down the wings. So you're going to have speed on turf. It might be the fastest. It might be the fastest show on turf this season with Atlanta United's unified team. That's always fun to catch up with Marty and see what's going on. But yeah, May the 9th is the first unified match. So May the 9th is the first unified match of the season. They expanded the roster by 2. And so it's May the 9th at home against LAG, Saturday, August 1st in Philly, Saturday, September 5th in Miami at the new stadium. And then wrapping up the season, it is October 24th at home against Chicago. So those are your 4 matchups this season for Atlanta United Unified, and signing day back on March the 16th. So articles up from our friend Adam Jasper over at ATLUTD.com. And you get to see some familiar faces like Liam Stewart, Alex Eberle, just to see the X-Man that's a part of it once again. So very, very cool that they all got to hold up the jersey at the end of it all, but you add 2 more players this year, and looking forward to it. Starting May the 9th, handful of practices between now and then when LAG comes to visit. So it's always great to catch up with Marty and find out what's going on. And we can't thank the team and Lena Saul and everybody for helping this happen, and for Marty to hang out with us for 20 minutes while he's traversing the planet and letting us know everything going on with the Unified team. So very, very cool stuff there. All right. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and anything else that we got to get into before we get out of here. Once again, tomorrow, look, we got Open Cup tonight. In addition to everything else. Open Cup starts tonight again for this round. And we'll go over those juice boxes here in a bit once I can find them and scramble them up here. So right now, there are a handful of games that have Open Cup numbers. 6 of them have juice boxes attached. And it is 6 tonight. And then you end up with 10 tomorrow here in this particular round of 32. So 6 matches tonight. Here's the rundown of everything that's going on today. 7 o'clock, it is U.S. and Portugal from Mercedes-Benz. Obviously, we'll have coverage for you during the game, coverage after the match. The final whistle will go up at soccerdownhere.net, kind of giving you a quick rundown of what happened. Then we're going to go and get sound. Jason, once again, remember, Atlanta Soccer tonight, 11 o'clock, 92.9 The Game, and the Odyssey app. So 11 o'clock, 11 to 1. And so by the time he goes off the air, barring an extra 30 minutes in PKs with the last match of the day, you'll know the field of 48. This afternoon, we get 43, 4, 5, and 6 out of Europe in the European playoffs. 47 and 48, the Intercontinentals, happen at 5 and 11. And so that's the rundown for tonight. The 6 matches in Open Cup, 7 o'clock, second stage, Highmark Stadium, Riverhounds hosting Virginia Dream. Second stage, Greenwood, it is UNC Asheville and our friend Scott Wells taking on One Knox. 7 o'clock, FC Naples hosting FC America CFL Spurs at the Paradise Coast Sports Complex. Indy 11 hosting Union Omaha. I caught up with Jamie Henderson last week to find out about what it's like in Open Cup and for him in his first year as sporting director at Union Omaha. And that one's played at Ooey Pooey at Michael Carroll at the Mike in Indy. 7:30, Canada prepares for Tunisia at BMO with their new configuration of 40,000 plus, $150 million expansion to go north of 40,000. Second stage, Mecklenburg, 7:30, Charlotte and Charleston Battery. Soldier Field has Mexico and Belgium. Second stage, 10 o'clock at Fresno State. It is Sacramento Republic and Valley 559. Abby with the word that they're working on another unified TIFO as well. That's just as cool. So your juice boxes. FC Naples, a minus 500 against America CFL Spurs. No surprise. Asheville City is a dog at McCormick at UNC Asheville hosting One Knox at a plus 240. So is the draw. And this is what I meant by juice box purveyors just kind of throwing numbers up. Literally, it seems like the default number is a plus 240. We don't know. Okay, plus 240. Asheville City hosting One Knox at a plus 240. So is the draw. You'll see what I mean in a bit. One Knox a minus 114. Indy 11 at the Mike hosting Union Omaha. Indy 11 favored at a minus 102 despite their struggles so far in USL Championship. The draw and Union Omaha are a plus 240. Pittsburgh and Virginia Dream, Riverhounds a minus 588. No surprise there. Plus 525 for the 90-minute draw. Plus 1050 for Dream in that one on the road. Charlotte Independent is a plus 225 against Charleston Battery. Battery are favored, even money plus 100. Draws a plus 229. Valley 559 in Fresno, a plus 700. Sacramento, a massive favorite, no surprise, at a minus 385. Draws a plus 425. So you've got 6 Open Cup matches tonight. In addition to everything else, we'll keep an eye on it. And we will try, if there are any cup sets, we will try to bring folks in the show tomorrow. See if we can wake them up if it's a late night. 9:30 tomorrow, we're going to catch up as we start our UPSL coverage with J.C. Carpenter from North Georgia United. J.C., you might remember him from his time at Campbell High School. And it's an interesting story with J.C. We're going to find out what's going on in the UPSL that folks need to know about these days. J.C., from his time at North Georgia United, received a call to have a 2-week camp, basically, with Sporting Gijon in the Spanish Segunda. So we caught up with him yesterday. We'll play a portion of that interview, and the interview itself will go up on socials and your favorite podcatchers, but you'll hear a little bit from the interview with J.C. Carpenter tomorrow in the 9:30 half hour. Let you know what else is going on in the UPSL. Hopefully Dylan Butler, the busiest man in the Northeast, can join us. I was tempted to comment while he was calling the high school lacrosse match of the two heavyweights, the two national heavyweights last week. I refrained because, me and my comments popping into the comment section on a YouTube stream, I didn't want to throw Dylan off. So watched some of the heavyweight battle that he called last week on Varsity Media. And then at 10:30, we are taping an interview with Kira Krinian, the head women's coach for the U17s, who recently qualified for the U17 World Cup. We're going to find out about pressure of expectations from her. That's going to run in the 10:30 half hour tomorrow, plus your coverage of everything that happened tonight. It's going to be on Atlanta Soccer tonight. Maddie, Jason, and myself. And we'll be up there 11-1, maybe cheating a break. It might be Atlanta Soccer Tonight Pirate Radio if the game goes long. But we'll keep an eye on that, obviously. That is the rundown of stuff. Once again, European qualifiers this afternoon. Teams 43, 4, 5, and 6. 47 and 48, the Intercontinental Playoffs, 1 at 5, the last one at 11 o'clock. Tonight, not in 3 minutes. So keep an eye on those. That's what tonight is going to be. It's going to be USA Portugal. We're going to assemble all the stuff. Goes to Jason at AST. 11-1 AST at 92.9 the game. Then once again, we'll talk about it again tomorrow in the 9 o'clock half hour to get you ready for the rest of the day, which should be stacked, packed, and racked again. Mentioned Wednesday. Also, the Red Clay Soccer Report is up and running at noon, so Wednesday is going to be a long day of talking. Then Thursday, Rob Valentino is going to join us at 9 o'clock, so we might be going on 5 minutes early. Rob's going to join us and talk about his time with the U.S. men's national team and what it's like coaching, wearing all the red, white, and blue gear. So Rob's going to join us batting leadoff. Jen Hildress is going to join us at 9:45 before the Power Hour with Nino and Nico. Friday, Chris Doran, the play-by-play voice of Columbus Crew, is going to come and join us at 9:05 for opposition research as we get ready for Crew. See if our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring can join us at 9:30, friends from Apple TV at 10, and we'll preview the weekend with everything going on, including maybe the NWSL, considering that's what Kacey will be up to. And Kacey will be in Rio Tinto for that one. So we're going to go with Major League Soccer. We'll let you know what's going on in NWSL, juice boxes, let you know what's going on in Major League Soccer, let you know who's in the middle, all the things. But we got Open Cup this week also sprinkled in amongst all of that. So we're going to keep an eye on cup sets as we go tonight and tomorrow night. Busy week, like we said. It's going to be a fun week. It's going to be a busy week. But nevertheless, very, very fun, very, very busy. So that's the rundown of the week. Okay. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Remind Charlie from, yes. Don't forget to remind Charlie from MLS Press to keep icing and use the crutches properly. I will do that. Thank you. Okay. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. What to watch, where to watch it, brought to you by Fanatis. fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important, helps us, helps them, helps you. Adding more matches to everything you're already watching. With Fanatis, you get all the BNs, which means you get CAF, you get AFCON Champions League, you get the French League, the Turkish League, and the Polish League, plus all of the competitions, Copa Libertadores, Sudamericana. You get tie-ins to Tigo Sports, tie-ins to CATV. You get Copa Argentina, plus TC, which gives you lower divisions in Argentina in addition to Copa. You get a lot of the action in not just the Primera leagues. You get A and B leagues in Paraguay, Uruguay, Colombia, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru is on Fanatis as well. If you want to add TVV to add Venezuela, you can. Quick note, once again, if you have a certain cable system and you order the Spanish package, especially the Spanish sports package like we have here in the office, I can look at TVV on the Big 55. That's just public service announcement. So you also get CDO and you get TC and all of their great programming across the board. So you can watch all of that stuff at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. One subscription, one home, and that's it. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Remember, you've got all of the European playoffs. Argentina and Zambia in a friendly tonight at 7:15. Open Cup on CBS Sports Network. It's Asheville City and One Knox at 7 o'clock. FS1 has the qualifiers. They have Bosnia-Herzegovina, Italy. So if you are locked into one screen, and one screen only, like you might be at work, Bosnia-Herzegovina and Italy is at 2:45. And then the two intercontinental playoffs at 5 and 11. Friendlies, Norway, Switzerland at noon. Canada, Tunisia is at 7:30. Kosovo and Turkey is going to be on at 2:45 on FS2. So if you can go multi-screen, FS1, FS2. U.S. and Portugal is at 7 o'clock on TNT and a bunch of other places. BN and Espanol simulcasting Argentina, Zambia. Two friendlies on Fox Deportes at 2:30 and 8. Telemundo simulcasting the friendly of the U.S. Then 2 to NA has Mexico and Belgium at 9. Universo is simulcasting the action with the USMNT. Univision is simulcasting Mexico and Belgium. Golazo Network Open Cup. They're going to do the matchup from Fresno late. Valley 559 in Sacramento Republic. DAZN has 3 friendlies, and they've already aired. La Liga 2 on ESPN+, Deportivo La Coruña and Cordoba. Fox ONE has 6 friendlies. One of them has already played. They have 4 World Cup qualifiers, 2 from Europe and the 2 intercontinentals. They have Nations League, Luxembourg and Malta's at noon. Fox Soccer Plus, 2 friendlies. One's already been played. They've got Luxembourg and Malta. HBO Max is simulcasting USA and Portugal. One Soccer, if you are so inclined, has Haiti and Iceland at 12:30. Paramount Plus has all 7 Open Cup matches available. Peacock has the 2 intercontinentals and the U.S. match. VeeX has all 6 of the World Cup qualifiers. They've got 5 of the friendlies. YouTube has, on MLS's YouTube, they have the Generation Adidas Cup, the U15 round of 16 at noon, and the U16 round of 16 at 2:30. Women's side, Super League, it is Dallas and Tampa Bay at 8:30. And then Royal Academy and Real Madrid just ended, so you can't watch that one on the women's side. So that does everything today with what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, brought to us by our friends at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. Now, gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Let's find out what gossip, rumor, and innuendo look like today. And then we will send you on your way because it's going to be a long, fun day. Long, fun day. Now, here is what's going on. Rodri, Real Madrid's preferred midfield target this summer, according to Mundo Deportivo. Enzo Fernandez and Adam Wharton remain in their sights should a deal for the Manchester City midfielder not come. Madrid have always been interested in Rodri, won the Ballon d'Or in 24, long-term knee and hamstring injuries. Football Insider, bid of around £50 million would be enough to convince City to allow Rodri's exit. Jan Diomande is in demand. RB Leipzig have not given up hope of signing him to a longer deal, according to Sky Germany. Club reportedly won €100 million in any deal this summer if he wants to go. Liverpool is linked with him to replace Mo Salah. Juve been monitoring a move for Manuel Ugarte from United, according to Gazzetta dello Sport. Juve sporting director Marco Ottolini will be in attendance for Uruguay's friendly with Algeria tonight to watch. Ugarte has not been a regular starter since joining United from Sporting. Faces an uncertain future amid links with the likes of Elliot Anderson, Adam Morton, Bruno Guimaraes, and Sandro Tonali. Cristiano Ronaldo, CR41, trying to convince Casemiro to join him in the Saudi Pro, according to Marca. He's leaving at the end of his contract, free agent. We know that Messi and friends have already started back and forth with the agent of Casemiro. Former Madrid teammate Ronaldo trying to convince him elsewhere. Newcastle have agreed in principle to sign Independiente del Valle 16-year-old Ecuadorian winger Johan Martinez, according to Fabrizio Romano. Teenage forward will not join Newcastle, obviously, till he turns 18. He's going to stay at IDV. IDV in the past has presented Moises Caicedo and Piero Hincapié to the rest of the planet. United actively exploring Cole Palmer's situation, according to Team Talk. They also have agreed on a new one-year contract extension with Harry Maguire, taking his stay, according to Fabrizio Romano, to 2027. Ferran Torres, transfer option for United this summer. Joshua Zirkzee leads the club. Arsenal, Inter Milan, Atletico de Madrid monitoring the star, and that's from Ekrem Konur. Villa open to signing Jadon Sancho permanently in the summer when his contract at United comes to an end, but their plans hinge on Champions League qualification. Newcastle stalled in talks with Tino Livramento over a new deal amid links with transfer interest from Arsenal and Manchester City, also Football Insider. Villa and Newcastle interested in Werder Bremen defender Karim Koulibaly. Chelsea is also in the mix. And also Barcelona set to offer a new one-year deal to Robert Lewandowski. Clubs in Europe and MLS continue to monitor the situation ahead of the summer, and that is from Nicolas Shira. There is talk that the deal is very incentive-laden, that it would be base plus metrics if Lewandowski returns. Telegraph has a piece from Mike McGrath. Thomas Tuchel and his staff have set up oxygen chambers and saunas for England players in their own homes to prepare them for the extreme weather conditions. Many of Tuchel's squads now have hyperbaric chambers installed for oxygen therapy when they return home from training with their clubs. They also have red light saunas to help recovery between matches. This comes after last summer's end-of-season England camp in Girona, where meetings were held to explain how they would cope with the high temperatures and humidity at the World Cup. Players trained in heated tents to replicate the conditions expected in USA, Canada, and Mexico in 11 weeks. Players were told how to get themselves ready across the entire Premier League season, and staff from the FA involved in coordinating the installation of the state-of-the-art equipment to maximize performance. Hyperbaric chamber and sauna sessions in sync with a program operating under Tuchel when England meet up for matches. FA has helped install them, the players who've paid for the machines. So hyperbaric oxygen chambers. At Girona last year, England players carried out fitness tests inside heat tents on exercise bikes. So now you have hyperbaric chambers that are attached. Once again, Tottenham, advanced talks with Roberto De Zerbi. Likely, most likely, perhaps, possibly, probably, maybe, we think that that's going to happen. De Zerbi to Spurs. It was great to catch up with our friend Ben Jacobs this morning for a handful of minutes just to kind of break things down and find out where De Zerbi is on all the things. Eddie Howe apparently now is facing a 7-game test to secure his job for next season. Remember yesterday, for those of you that were hanging out with us at the Brew House, Jeff Reuter over at The Guardian caught up with Don Garber, the commissioner of Major League Soccer, who suggested the Egyptian soccer executive who urged Mo Salah to avoid Major League Soccer, Ibrahim Hassan, the national team director. Hassan told On Sport, registered earlier this week, I would prefer him to stay in Europe. I've heard about offers from PSG, Bayern Munich, and clubs in the Italian league. A move to MLS, he would be far too out of the spotlight. You won't remember Salah any more than I remember Messi now. I don't even try to watch him, end quote. Director Hassan, sir, sure. Commissioner Garber, quote, "That's the first time I've ever heard anything like that." League meetings in Sarasota yesterday. Leo Messi's the most popular player in the world. He was, and he still is. I'd be happy to send an Apple subscription to the head of the Egyptian FA so he can watch as many Messi games as he'd like, end quote. So, touche. Garber continued, "I think that his," meaning Hassan's, point of view is very indicative of what MLS deals with as we develop as an aspiring major player on the world stage. I can remember not that long ago, Mexican national team coaches saying, if you're in MLS, you're not going to play for our national team. That's not the case today. We have national team players that have played in Major League Soccer, got 2 or 3 that are playing for Argentina and are playing in MLS. 2 of Mexico's starters in the draw with Portugal, Obed Vargas and Brian Gutierrez. These days, according to Reuter, league is generally assessed to be within the world's 15 best by various metrics. Opta's league power rankings have MLS at 13. 3rd highest circuit outside of Europe. The LPF is 8th, and the Brazilian Serie A is 9th. Saudi Pro League, by the way, ranked at 37. CSO meetings are in Sarasota, by the way, to complement the Generation Adidas Cup in Bradenton. And so we're keeping an eye on that for Atlanta United as well. So, yes. So if Commissioner Garber would like to send the head of the Egyptian FA an Apple subscription so he can watch all the Messi games, probably not a bad call. It's probably not a bad call. So we'll go through one more paper and see if there's any other stories that we might have missed across the board. But I think we're okay. He doesn't remember me. Yeah. David says, yeah, he didn't remember Messi, but he did mention him by name. I don't even watch him now. I don't watch him now. I don't remember Messi. Well, yeah, you do. You remember Messi. You do. But yeah, if Don Garber actually sent an email, that would be hilarious. Director Hassan, comma, paragraph. Please find enclosed your new Apple TV subscription. As we look to grow the game in as many places around the planet as possible, we welcome your viewership when it comes to anything and everything Major League Soccer. Please feel free to acquaint yourself with all of the talented individuals that you would get to see on a weekly basis inside Major League Soccer. Signed, sincerely, Don Garber, MLS Commissioner. So there you go. Yeah. So we'll say hi to everybody, and then we will leave you to your devices. Morning, David. Morning, Abby. And I will try and track Charlie down. So let's see. Morning, Dell. And Dell, thank you for posting to Twitter your questions, Chad, here in the Twitch pitch. Morning, KFC. And yeah, we took care of Weekly Wonderment Use 6-2. We took care of that one. So let's see. So Dell and David, yeah, Rathbun Steak Place was where they went. Dell and David and Abby and Ricky. I know that he was in earlier. There's Ricky in the timeline. And thanks to all of you folks for hanging out and joining us as you always do. Once again, remember, game tonight, Mercedes-Benz, 7 o'clock. It's going to be on your TNT, HBO Max, all of those places, simulcast and various others. So we'll have all the reports for you later tonight. Let you know what the ongoing conventional wisdom is after the match with Portugal. Talk about it tomorrow. Talk about Open Cup tomorrow. Talk about the U17s and the UPSL and Major League Soccer and all the things tomorrow on another round of SDH AM. So for everybody here at SDH AM, back in a little less than 22. And since it is the end of the show, enjoy the day, everybody. USA and Portugal tonight, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Means I get to do this. Mucha Plati, I'll play it safe. We'll see you downtown. See you back here tomorrow morning.